This program is sponsored by Dave Stahl.
It's time to get educated on your Second Amendment right. It's time to get locked and loaded with 2 full hours of Gun Sports Radio. Your hosts Dave Stahl, Lance Pelkey, and Michael Schwartz will teach you anything and everything there is to know about firearms, self-defense, and the laws that affect your American right to own and bear arms. Visit gunsportsradio.com with your questions and comments, or to learn how to become a sponsor and or guest of the show. Now, here's your hosts, Dave, Lance, and Michael.
All right, folks, welcome to Gun Sports Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
Hey, look for our shows on your favorite podcast platform. It's simple at gunsportsradio.com. That's gunsportsradio.com. And please remember, stick around for the second hour, because we are a 2-hour show now. Hey, and the first hour sponsor is our good buddies at Firearms Legal Protection. Firearm Legal Protection is the best legal protection for self-defense, and you can check them out on their website to see why. Go to firearmslegal.com. That's firearmslegal.com. All right, hey, California assault weapon laws makes it almost impossible to own an AR pattern rifle. What's the solution? Cali Key. It'll convert any mil-spec direct impingement AR platform rifle into a straight pull-bolt action rifle so it can have all the features without being considered an assault weapon. It's a true drop-in solution, no milling, no aesthetic modifications, and no turning off your gas system. Keep your entire AR collection intact at a price you can afford with Cali Key. Check out Cali Key at calikey.com. That's KALIKEY.com. All right. Hey, we've got Lance Pelkey, Michael Schwartz, and Joe Dramisi in the house, the covert blogger. And did you notice Lenny from the Glock store was on KUSI?
Yeah, on KUSI.
Did a great job.
Yeah, thought he did an awesome job.
Really did.
Yeah.
Well, they've been talking a lot about the ammo situation. It was so bizarre. It was such a news story. Mm-hmm. They've been talking about, the judge came out and just crushed Prop 63 and said that the ammo registration or ammo background check and registration is just absolutely ridiculous. And then the next day, they asked him to stay his own execution or stay his own decision, and then he said no, and so they did it for him at 10 o'clock at night. So they've been talking a lot about that. Spock talked to me, they talked to John the attorney, and they talked to Lenny from Glock store.
Right, and they should, and so they should. I mean, it's and the more and more you dig into it, a lot of these actions are illegal.
It is, and the reaction by the state and particularly the Ninth Circuit was it's just ridiculous. The more people hear about how ridiculous they're being, I think the better. So I'm really glad they're doing that.
Oh, I think they're absolutely phenomenal, and people just need to. And I'm not saying we need to revolt, but if they keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and they keep getting away with it, they'll just keep pushing.
Yeah, and that's not the only. Did you see me quoted in the Times of San Diego last week?
No, I haven't read the paper.
So Times of San Diego.
Did they get it right?
He got it right. He quoted me verbatim. This guy's name's Ken Stone, and he's an author. He's a journalist. You can't see my air quotes, everybody, but he's a journalist with air quotes. And known anti-gun guy, and he sent me an email asking me. He said, "Look, somebody made a statement about the Second Amendment on their Facebook page. I want to know what you think they meant by that."
Okay.
How would I know what this person? And he went on further to say, I asked them what they meant about it, and they said they didn't know what they meant about it. And I'm like, how would I know what this person meant?
That he didn't know what it meant.
Yeah, and it was a lady, and she was actually organizing a protest up in Encinitas, and said something like, "This is why we have the Second Amendment." It was a very vague, So he wanted to know what I thought, she meant by that, and the question was so disjointed and so convoluted and so ridiculous. I actually repeated it back to him. I said, "You want me to tell you what I think she meant by a statement that she came out and said she didn't know what she meant?" That's what you're asking me. And I said, "Ken, is this your first day on the job?"
Yeah.
I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to tell your readers that you reached out to me and that I said that this was the stupidest question I've ever been asked by a journalist. And in his article, 3 or 4 hours later, he actually put, I reached out to Michael Schwartz from San Diego County Gun Owners. He asked if it was my first day on the job and then said, please tell your readers that, I asked you to put that this is the stupidest question I've ever been asked by a journalist. I thought, wow.
You gave him a truthful answer and he printed it.
There's a first, huh?
And the rest of his story, we should set aside. It would almost be worth it to set aside a couple segments
and read it
and read this article and just ridicule it. At one point in the article, he talks about this lady who's organizing this protest up in NCDs, which, by the way, had nothing to do with guns. She was organizing a protest to open up the beaches.
Okay,
had nothing to do with the Second Amendment or guns. And he, at one point in this article about her, he wrote that she was in a 5K a couple years ago and printed what her time was in the 5K.
Oh, there you go. Was it accurate?
That's
I'm waiting and I'm waiting.
That's journalism for you.
I missed my opportunity, but since I'm here and I'm in front of the mic, I could bring it back.
Yeah.
When we were talking about the ammo stuff a few minutes ago, and that Judge Benitez wrote that very well thought out, just 120
pages, yeah.
And then they find a judge in Hawaii on the Ninth Circuit who just automatically there in 10 minutes just overrules that.
Yep.
And it's interesting how that works. And like we were saying earlier, I hope people remember this. And that's the kind of stuff I wrote about this week, which we'll talk about next hour. But, November's coming up. People need to remember this kind of stuff that's going on now.
Every time I see something that's totally stupid, that makes no sense.
You send it to Michael.
No, I don't. He knows. He's on the mainstream. All I put on there is just remember this November 3rd.
Yeah.
Go out and vote.
It's true.
And don't mail in your ballot. Get off your couch. You've been sitting too long. Go down and drop off your ballot.
Well, I hope they do. And you see all the people now in Huntington Beach that were out there protesting, the closures and stuff. And, these are beach people. These are typically the people that elect these
why do you think
guys
they live
are doing
there?
all this.
That's why they live there.
Yeah, and it's interesting. They're unhappy now, unhappy enough to go out in the street and, risk the wrath of, the glorious leader there. And, so I want to see in November, you going to vote for these guys again?
So here's a good one. They're arresting you if you come out of your house to protest, but they're letting criminals out of jail.
Well, yeah.
So you have a better chance of being a criminal and getting out, because what they want to do is lock you back up in your house.
Well, see, and that's blowing up too. And that's the part, like I said, I really hope people pay attention to this.
I do too.
There was a great post, one of the sheriffs, and I can't remember who it was, sheriff or chief of police, wrote about this guy that was released. And what he was talking about was the no bail policy is what he was writing about. Because he said his officers got called. There was somebody breaking into a car. The officers showed up. They got the guy, and the guy tried to get away in a stolen car that was stolen earlier in the morning. They brought the guy in. Because of the no bail policy, they can't hold him, so they give him a citation, let him go. A couple hours later, they get a call from some guy walking through the front yards of houses with a box. Looks like he's stealing things. They go there. It's the same guy.
What?
They arrest him.
This is my shocked face.
Stuff, and they bring him in. Again, because of the no bail policy, they can't keep him. They write him a citation, let him go. 3 or 4 hours later, they get called again for a guy trying to steal a car. This guy actually runs in the car. They track him down or chase him down. When they finally get him, it's the same guy. They bring him in. He said 3 times they can't hold him because of the no bail policy that's out there now. So 3 times in a row in a day, a citation, and he's back out there. And that's what's going on.
How in the world? It just makes
there's no upside to this, but I'll tell you, after this, and we're almost to the point where I can start pointing this out. But I'm going to make a list of politicians that were called upon and either came through for us or didn't.
Absolutely.
Because there's some politicians whose mettle was tested and they failed.
Yeah, failed miserably.
So stay tuned for that article.
Yeah, but
I also think we should. By the way, I think San Diego County Gun Owners, I think we should start making T-shirts, and on the back it says, "Is this your first day, Ken?" I want to try to I want to try to coin that phrase.
Oh, yeah, the problem is that you'll give that guy more publicity
than he should
like
have. There's something to be said for that, too. Well, it's just, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. I mean, from a political standpoint, I know the virus is working its way out, and we're going to get out to the other end of that. But the politicians are just really making them, I mean, they're really showing their colors, like you said.
They are. But some of the colors, our friend out in Coronado, Richard Bailey, doing a great job. Senator Brian Jones is doing a great job, and he's going to have some announcements coming up. But then there are some that aren't. We asked the mayor up in San Marcos, Rebecca Jones, we asked her for help when they were trying to shut down gun shops. Nope, she wouldn't help.
No.
Diane Jacob. Nope, she wouldn't help. But guys like Jim Desmond on the County Board of Supervisors and Kristen Gaspar on the County Board of Supervisors doing great. So, remember it in November. And it might not even be this November. It might be a November 2 or 4 years from now, but let's remember.
All right. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. Right here on FM 96.1 AM 1170.
The Answer.
Folks, hey, welcome back. You're listening to Gun Sports Radio, FM 96.1 AM 1170.
The Answer.
Hey, what's the best defense for self-defense of those horrible new red flag laws here in lovely California and probably to other states soon? Well, that'd be firearms legal protection. Mike, Lance, Joe, and I use them. Firearms legal protection is a legal defense program for lawful gun owners with a 24/7 emergency hotline and a plan designed specifically for the firearms owner. Talk to the good folks at Firearms Legal Protection today. That's Firearms Legal Protection at firearmslegal.com. Or you can call them at 469-310-9100. 469-310-9100. That's firearmslegal.com. Remember, gun owners, be ready with a lawyer in your corner. Hey, guess what? The refi bell is still ringing. So home mortgage interest rates have dropped to a historic low. And if you're looking to buy or refi, or if you're considering a reverse mortgage, call our local mortgage guy that you can trust. That's Chris Wiley at PRMI Mortgage. For nearly 25 years, Chris has been helping local San Diegans with all their mortgage needs. Call Chris Wiley at 619-722-1303 or primeres.com/Alpine. All right, who you got for special guests?
We have a very cool special guest. We have Dennis Tueller, who is he's a firearms trainer and expert, and he's one of those guys. I think he's one of the faces on the Mount Rushmore of firearms training.
Really?
And he's best known. He's done all kinds of lectures and been a guest on instructor at places like Thunder Ranch and Gunsight and all kinds of really, really prestigious places. Does a lot of training for law enforcement officers, and he's best known for one principle that he came up with best. That's what he's best known for, and we're going to talk to him about it. Dennis, are you there?
I am here. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being on Gun Sports Radio with us here in lovely, beautiful San Diego. Did I introduce you properly? Would you say that that's all fairly accurate?
Well, that's very nice, but having my face carved in granite, not one of the things that I would expect anytime.
No? All right. Well, I listen, I think it's well worth it. Okay, so what you're best known for is most people out there who've taken any kind of training or have owned a gun for any length of time know about the 21-foot principle. And basically what that means is that if someone is 21 feet from you, that's the danger zone. So maybe you should, since it's yours, maybe you should best explain what exactly the 21-foot principle is.
Okay. Well, and it's actually, like so many things, it's not quite that simple. It's very frequently referred to as the 21-foot rule, which is a term that I think is particularly poor, because there's no specific rule stating how close someone has to be to present a deadly threat. But I'll try to give you the concise background on this. It goes back to 1982. I was doing firearms training for the Salt Lake City Police Department, and during some training exercises and discussion of use of deadly force, one of the new officers asked a question about, well, when are you justified in shooting someone with a knife or a contact weapon? I mean, they have to be close enough to you to hurt you, so how, at what distance have they crossed that line? And after some discussion, I realized that I didn't have a really good answer, so decided to do a little experiment, and we had been drawing and shooting at 7 yards. That's a traditional training distance. Just about every police training range I've ever been on has a 7-yard line, which of course is 21 feet. So I decided, well, we know on average, at 7 yards, you can clear the holster and get hits on target in 1.5 to 2 seconds. That's our goal. And so we decided to do some role play, and assigned one of the recruits to be to represent the bad guy who was going to make the charge, and another one to just stand in place, kind of the deer in the headlights. You're startled and frozen, and we timed it with stopwatches. So when the role player representing the bad guy started running, we started the watch, and when they made contact, he just slapped the good guy as he came by. We assumed that would be the assault, and I was very surprised. When you look at somebody 7 yards away, that seems like a pretty good distance, but
yeah.
The time, the watches showed it was right in the neighborhood of 1.5 seconds. And of course, we repeated the experiment, did it with several other individuals. It was very, very consistent, and that got me to thinking about changing some training paradigms that had been pretty locked into our system for years. The idea of actually moving off the line of attack, which was certainly not being taught on firearms training ranges at the time. And to expand on that, how it ended up becoming more well-known is I shared what I had experienced with other firearms trainers. I been very fortunate in my career to have been involved with a lot of good training individuals and entities, and at the time, in addition to being a full-time cop for Salt Lake PD, I was a part-time trainer at Gunsight, and I was at a class at Gunsight not long after doing these experiments and shared it with some of my fellow trainers there. And they said, well, that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought that. And the operations officer there at Gunsight at the time, another noteworthy individual in this industry, Chuck Taylor, was also an editor for SWAT magazine, and he encouraged me to write an article, which I did, and it appeared in the March 1983 issue titled How Close is Too Close, and talked about a danger zone and how quickly you can draw and hit, and if you see the threat in time and move off the line of attack and use distance and obstacles and cover. And over the years, it morphed into the 21-foot rule. But there's no specific distance.
Right, but that's where frankly, that's where I'd heard of you before I'd heard of you. Maybe 10, 12 years ago at an IDPA match, some folks were talking about that. And there's kind of a common drill that I think most of our listeners have probably even seen or participated in, where you have a guy on the line, with his pistol concealed, and you have a guy standing behind him, and the guy standing behind him starts running,
the opposite, away from the shooter.
Or away from the shooter in a safe distance. And as soon as he starts running, then you can pull from concealment and see if you can get shots on target before the runner gets to a target or gets to a designated, picks up a flag, whatever.
Or the runner will, throw down his hat or stop as soon as he hears the shot. And you'll find that most people take one or two more steps after hearing the shot, and then you measure that distance and see if your reaction and response time, your ability to draw and shoot was how far did that attacker, would that person have actually made it? And was it more than 7 yards, less than 7 yards? A lot of variables. I should add the way my name got attached to it. Another fellow trainer and well-known individual in this industry is Masad Ayub, and he and I had occasion to communicate, and he'd read the article, and he actually wrote a much more thorough article several months later. I forget right now which magazine it was in, but he elaborated on it and talked about what he called the Tueller Principle and attached my name to what he calls the Tueller Drill, where he has students actually perform it in a classroom setting where they'll measure off 20 or 21 feet and have each and every student run the distance and time it, and you put that in your notes. The idea being that if you understand this concept, that's part of your mindset when you find yourself defending yourself after a use of force incident, because as you might imagine, you talked about your experience, and a lot of people are very surprised to learn how quickly someone can cover that distance. And folks on a jury might look at the fact situation that, well, gosh, the guy you shot, he was still 15 feet away, and he just had a knife, and you had a gun.
So those 2 points that you just said, that you just summed up right there, those are the two most important things about the rule or the principle or whatever, the fact that, one, I think most people, especially untrained, would see somebody who's 21 feet away and they have a knife. I think that they would feel that that's a safe distance. Realizing that's not necessarily a safe distance is extremely important. But number two, the ability to have some kind of standardized or researched facts for a jury are extremely important. If one jury thinks that 3 feet's okay and another jury thinks that 15 feet is okay, how do you make decisions? You know what I mean? How do you make decisions? Like, you got to have some kind of standard. And thankfully, you've created that standard through research and trial and error.
Well, and many, many other good folks have expanded on that. Anybody who wants to learn more, you would do well to check out Dr. Bill Lewinsky and the Force Sciences Institute, where they've done really good documentation and various exercises like this as to how quickly someone can actually produce a gun and fire, and human reaction and response time, and knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. That's excellent. So, what are you doing now? Are you still teaching, or how do you spend most of your time?
I am. I work full time for Glock. I'm one of their firearms trainers. I travel around teaching primarily armor classes and firearms instructor workshops.
How do we get you down here in San Diego? That sounds awesome.
Go to glocktraining.com and you can see where, although you can't really pick your trainer, and I have a couple of colleagues who also do. I'm still in Utah. I did my career in Salt Lake PD. I've bounced around other areas, but we're back in Utah and have been for years. And we have regional trainers, so they keep me pretty much in the Rocky Mountain West. We have a good staff of trainers.
Come to California.
Yeah, beautiful beaches.
On, chicken. You just don't want to come into our goofy state. That's the problem.
You just call him chicken.
I called him a chicken. Hey, I'm more than 21 feet away from him. I'm good.
Well, and we're all now practicing at least 6 feet away, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Variation on the theme.
I'm telling you what. Hey, it's really been great talking to you, Dennis. Look forward to having you on down the road. I'm sure Mike will bring you back as well. And for folks that would like to find out more, what was the website again?
Well, I don't have a website.
You can give the Glock store one out, or the Glock company out.
For Glock, it's glocktraining.com.
Okay.
And you can find out where we do classes all over the country, and we look forward to having people host us.
Let's all send an email and demand he comes to California.
That's right.
That'll fix it.
That'll. In fact, when I was invited, I said, you know what, I'm happy to talk about the drill and all that other stuff, but Glock's a separate thing, and
yep.
I'm not a spokesman for them, but thank you for having me, and it's always good to be able to clarify some of the misunderstanding that surrounds this.
And there is a bucket load of them, let me tell you. All right, buddy, thanks a lot. Be safe and keep your mask on.
You guys keep up the good work. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, there's a whole lot more on FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
folks, welcome back. Gun Sports Radio right here, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
Okay, I heard this. No, I'm not going to bring it up.
What?
But that was the best excuse I've ever heard. That's the best. That's got to go down.
Literally breaking his back.
Yep, and it just happened.
That's all right. It happened.
And we're only giving a hard time. Hey, folks, did you know thousands of pandemic panic buyers just found out what San Diego shooters already knew? You got to wait 10 days. No, I'm only kidding. A.O. Sword Firearms in El Cajon has the widest selection of guns in the county. They have hundreds of different new and used guns in stock, and everything you could want from an AR-15, whether you're looking for the latest competition rifle, combat pistol, or collectible cowboy iron, you'll find it at A.O. Sword. They are also professional gunsmiths with a full machine shop. They can clean, repair, upgrade, or even customize your gun, including, how do you say that? Cherokee? Cherokee?
Oh, Cerakote.
Cerakote.
The Cerakote. It's Japanese.
To put it down like in dummy letters. A.O. Sword Firearm is at 929 East Main Street, just off Mollison and El Cajon.
Impingement, Dave.
Hey, dude, they don't put that Cerakote on a car. Hey, and best of all, they are friendly, informed, and actively supporting your rights. Truly, they'll treat you like family. So see yourself with their legal and technical updates on Facebook, and check out aosword.com, aosword.com, or you can be old school and call them at 619-749-4867. All right, this segment's brought to you by our attorney, John Dillon. If you have any legal issues that involve anything gun-related, call John Dillon. Red flag laws, gun registrations, gun transportation, and storage. Anything gun-related, you better call John first. 760-431-9501. That's 760-431-9501.
He will break his back defending your rights.
That's right. Oh, I like that. That's really good. You know, that's really going to be bad if that's what really happened.
I think
That's what really happened.
What happened. Yeah.
It did
Actually,
really
it wasn't him. It sounded like it was somebody
No,
else.
it wouldn't be him.
So, real quick, Dave, Cerakote. That's. Let's touch on that for just a
Let's
second.
touch on. What is this? What is? I mean, is it like a coating?
It is like a coat. It's Cerakote, Cerakote,
Gotcha.
Cerakote, and it is basically.
Is it a protective?
It really, that's not its primary. Actually, it probably is. Honestly, it depends on who you talk to whether that's its primary function or
There's a
not.
question for Sam.
Yeah.
What was the original use of Cerakote? Why are they using that on guns?
It's really hardcore, so it is a bit of a protectant, but I think these days primarily it's used to make your gun pretty. So it's painting your gun.
You see those American flags and all that.
Oh, okay.
Camo, all the camo and all that. That's all Cerakoting.
Yeah, but it's not rattle can. It's not spray. It's like baked on and it's high quality and
kind of like carbon fiber. People put carbon fiber on their cars.
Yeah.
And really what carbon fiber for is strength and lightweight. It's not for looks. So it's kind of the same.
This is more like graphics. It's more, it's more because I guess they have this thin sheet of something. They float in water or something like that, and then they dip the gun in or the part in that.
That's not Cerakote.
No. Damn
that's not.
I thought it was Cerakote.
We should. You know what we should do? We should get a Cerakote expert.
You had me convinced. No,
Cerakote is basically paint, and they actually they use temperature. They bake it. They bake it on.
I thought you baked it on after you dipped it.
I was going to say we got a couple of them calling in later today, right?
Yeah, so, maybe we should.
Okay, well,
between David and Sam.
Now that we've made ourselves look totally stupid, let's get the experts in.
Well, let's talk about something that
we do know something about.
We do know a little something about. Then maybe so there was a lawsuit in New York. New York had a law that basically said you can't take your gun outside of your house for any reason other than going to one of I think there are 7 gun ranges in the city of New York. You couldn't even take your gun outside of your house to go to your other house. If you did go to the gun range, you couldn't stop at a gas station on the way back. I mean, it was really, really ridiculous.
Sure.
So they sued, worked its way up. During the time it was working its way up to the Supreme Court, they actually went back and changed the law, and they softened it a little bit. So that it was clear that, you could stop at a gun shop, or, you could go to your second house. But what ended up happening is this was supposed to be the big Supreme Court case that said, yes, you have the right to bear arms, not just keep, but bear, because Heller versus DC back in 2008 said, yes, you have the right to keep arms. You can possess them in your house. You have that right. But it didn't really address the right to bear arms. So this was supposed to be that case. The Supreme Court decided not to take it.
How can they do that?
Well, so I don't think it says...
But how could they pick and choose? You can't pick and choose.
No, they pick and choose all the time.
Well, I know, but
they
can't.
Thousands of cases try to get into the Supreme Court. They only pick,
Well, yeah, but they pick the ones they don't want to.
But the thought is, so there's some folks, some of the judges that dissented said, no, we don't. We think that we don't want to take this case because we're anti-gun. We're horrible people. But the swing votes. The swing votes, like Roberts, most likely did not take this case because there's too much.
But then where does it go?
There's too much hair on the deal. They basically said, hey, look, this isn't the perfect case to demonstrate that you have the right to bear arms.
I see.
Because they went back and they changed the law a little bit.
Gotcha.
So we don't want that mucking it up. We want a pure, perfect case.
So we can truly make a decision.
That's the thought.
So were they not going to look at or consider 10 different cases, I thought, just last week and take a look and see what they might look at next?
So there were a number of 10 or 12 cases that were kind of halted because they were waiting for this New York case. If the New York case was decided, either way, really, it would have an impact on 10 or 12 cases that were kind of in a holding pattern. One, for example, has to do with the roster, the pistol roster.
Yes.
California's got this ridiculous pistol roster, and you have to take steps that are technologically unachievable in order to sell pistols in California. So that was kind of being held up. It's been heard and decided in appeals, and et cetera, et cetera. That was being held up because everybody was waiting for this case. So now 10 or 12 cases are going, hey, all right, we want our shot. We want to be the next case. And that's one of them I think has a really good shot of being the one where they could say, definitively, because it's kind of got a little bit of everything.
So the court's still considering then and taking a look at those and seeing which ones they may or may not talk about next term. Is that right?
There's like 10 or 12 they've said, hey, we need an answer on these. So there's 10 or 12 or so that are the Supreme Court is either going to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to hearing, and then they'll hear it and then they'll decide on it. So right now they're just 10 or 12 cases that they may or may not take. What are some of the other? But the big one, honestly, that big one really is if they choose to, they could truly take that the pistol case, the safe handgun roster case, and make a statement across the board. They could make a statement about assault weapons. They could make a statement about pistols, about semi-automatic, about your right to bear the whole thing,
and be done with it.
And be done. They could, that might be a little uncharacteristic of the Supreme Court, but that, I think it's got a real good shot of making it.
Well, but it's gotten about to the point where they really need to do something, I think, because you've got this hodgepodge of anti-gun laws all around the country.
Yeah.
And if you're going to take the the Constitution the way it's worded, the Second Amendment, it says shall not infringe on that. And all these laws infringe because, if you look at these, if you want to be a sober, rational person, take the emotion out and everything. If you look at these laws, very few of them have anything to do with public safety or reducing crime. They have the intent of discouraging people from owning firearms. That's what they do. So you would think that, okay, at some point, the court's going to have to make some kind of bigger, I don't want to say a blanket ruling, but a ruling that says, okay, you cannot do these things in all these different forms. They all infringe. So I don't know if that's being optimistic or naive.
It is. I think, unfortunately, and it's why I don't know. I just lawsuits are crucial, but we can't sit around and wait for them. It takes too long. The trick is that if the lawsuit goes in your favor, then you try to make it make it appear to be the broadest decision that's ever been made. if it goes against you, then you make it look like it's the most narrow decision that's ever been made.
Yeah, and I used to feel, and I've written several articles about that we should not be depending on the courts. Yeah. But, you get to a point where, are we going to, fight every little goofy law that comes up in the 7 backward states that tend to generate these laws? And it's like, we both play the same game, because the state comes out with, some kind of nutty law like our the assault rifle ban or problem that we have out here. And then a whole bunch of innovative Americans work ways around it so that, it's not really an assault rifle if you do this or if you change that. And then they come back with, another alteration. And, this just goes on and on. It would be nice for the court to come out and just, take a stand on this stuff.
I agree. And a lot of people thought that stand was Heller versus D.C., in 2008. It's so difficult and so complicated.
Well, that's what I like. Do we have a constitution or do we not have a constitution? Does it say this or does it not say this? It's
well, that's why I'm saying you can't pick and choose. If you want to, there are some frivolous ones that make no sense, but this is part of our Second Amendment rights.
Well, if they would come out and make a statement, they'd have a heck of a lot fewer things to pick and choose from.
Sure,
they could avoid this kind of stuff.
I do wish they'd hurry. I really do. And I hope Trump gets a couple more picks. I hope that Ruth Bader Ginsburg, we should send her some golf clubs.
Well, decides to pursue other opportunities.
Yeah,
that's how we
that's
used to
what I'm
say
saying. We should send her some golf clubs. Here you go. Take up a hobby. It's time to retire.
Yeah. I don't know. Mixed martial arts looks good for me. But that's another story. All right, hey, we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Gun Sports Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
This too shall pass. Adam Rizzo here from Palomar Solar and Roofing. With all the uncertainty going on, the only thing we know to be certain is that your electric bills are going to go up, especially with everyone being encouraged to stay home for who knows how long. And don't forget, the high summer bills are right around the corner. Palomar Solar and Roofing understands the social distancing concerns, and our consultants are ready and able to propose your system over the phone and by email. Take this extra time to get your solar and roofing questions answered by one of the most reputable names in the business. Even during these uncertain times, solar is one of the greatest investments you can make depending on the contractor you hire. Call the local name you can trust and find out why thousands of homeowners and well-known companies like Waxy and Goodwill San Diego have chosen Palomar Solar and Roofing. Call Palomar Solar and Roofing at 760-504-0388 or visit palomarsolar.com. That's 760-504-0388.
Hey folks, this is DJ Carrot Sticks, the producer of The Andrea Kaye Show. Like you, I'm confined to my home, spending time with my family. And the one thing we enjoy right now is watching uplifting movies that affirm our faith. With all the choices, what can you watch? I have the answer. Introducing Patterns of Evidence, The Exodus, a documentary which presents convincing evidence that the biblical account of Exodus is true. Investigative filmmaker Tim Mahoney journeyed to Egypt, Israel, and throughout the world to search for the answers to the one very important question: did the stories, like Exodus, written in the Bible, really happen? The results of his investigation are monumental. Right now, you can watch Patterns of Evidence, The Exodus, at home. Go to patternsofevidence.com. That's patternsofevidence.com. Immediately following the movie, a panel moderated by Gretchen Carlson and featuring Dennis Prager, Eric McTaxis, and Ann Graham Lotz will provide further insight and commentary on the film. Watch Patterns of Evidence, The Exodus, and others in this series. Go to patternsofevidence.com. That's patternsofevidence.com.
FM 96.1 North County
and AM 1170 San Diego. The Answer.
All right, folks, welcome back. You're listening to Gun Sports Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
Well, so what's the best defense for self-defense and those horrible new red flag laws? That would be firearms legal protection. Mike, Lance, Joe, and I use them. Firearms Legal Protection is a legal defense program for lawful gun owners with a 24/7 emergency hotline and plans designed specifically for the firearms owner. Talk to the good folks at Firearms Legal Protection today. That's Firearms Legal Protection at firearmslegal.com or give them a call at 469-310-9100, 469-310-9100. firearmslegal.com. Gun owners, be ready with a lawyer in your corner. Okay, this segment is brought to you by the good folks at the Gun Range San Diego, 7853 Balboa Avenue in San Diego, 10 to 10, 7 days a week. Go to thegunrangesandiego.com, thegunrangesandiego.com. All right, looks like we got Jason on the line. Hey, Jason, how you doing, buddy?
Doing fine, Dave. How about you?
Living the dream. What's going on?
Great. What's going on? We got a lot of guns out. Got some new variety. I'm sure a lot of people will be happy to hear. Got Armscore pistols, Springfield. Got some 1911s, XDs. Got a lot of new stuff now.
Sun's out, guns out.
There you go.
Yep.
How are delivering guns coming along? Is the Dross got its act together?
Not quite yet. Some people are still waiting. Now we're starting to get into 17, 18, 19-day territory. Some people are they really are 8-9 days past their normal pickup time, and that is a huge bummer to let them know. But they've been very patient. They've been very understanding.
Can they do anything about that?
There's nothing they can do. We have to wait until we can. Until they've told us that it's been the transaction's been processed and that they are approved for pickup. There's nothing that anybody can do.
Nobody to complain
to. We have to wait. Nope. The DOJ is we can't call them because they've shut their phones down conveniently. So we can't call, ask any questions. There's nothing we can do but wait.
How are the customers reacting to you guys? Are they understandably frustrated, but are they frustrated with you guys, or do they understand what's going on?
The vast majority of them, they do understand. Some of them, of course, there's always going to be frustrated people, but most of our customers are very understanding. They're very patient. They do understand. It is something that's happening over the whole state, and they all pretty much understand that this is not something that's exclusive to our store. It's everywhere.
Has the media picked up on this?
I don't think the media really cares.
I don't think they want to say anything about it. I don't think they want to say anything about it, but they wouldn't be. I don't think it'd be very story worthy for the kind of things they usually put out.
True.
Which is unfortunate, but I think that's the truth. But.
But you guys you're still doing. The range is still open. What are the limitations on the range?
Well, we do have to we can only have half of our range open at any time. We have to limit to a certain number of people inside. Every other lane is shut off to maintain proper social distancing. So it's every other lane shut off. We only have half of our range open, which unfortunately pushes the wait times up quite a bit. It doubles the wait time. But we got a lot of loyal customers here waiting outside just to shoot.
So you can still buy guns, you can still buy ammo, you can still shoot guns with your new ammo.
Oh yeah. Yep, we're still a fully functioning store. Just have half of a range right now.
Yeah, but at least you're open though. Some other ones aren't.
Yeah, a lot of them just shut their doors.
Places to shoot unless you're going to go out to BLM.
Hey Jason, how's the ammo supply? Are you guys having any problems getting ammo or at certain calibers or anything, or is it all
readily available?
There you go.
Pretty much everything is readily available. The only things that we're really running short on are the kind of the more oddball rounds. 357 SIG, 10 millimeter, 6.5 Grendel, stuff that there's only like a handful of people that actually buy.
And that's not anything normal. I mean, that's not unusual, right?
That's normal. We usually only have like one case of that at a time anyways. But, it's just we got plenty of 9mm, plenty of 40, plenty of 45, 38, 357, 5.56, 308, and we got it all.
Hey, here's a question. Did you see a bump in popularity of 357 SIG in the last, since... you know what I'm talking about?
I did. I did see a small rise. Most people don't even. Most people haven't heard of it. They don't know what it is. 357 SIG is one of the primary calibers used to protect the President of the United States since the 90s. They use a SIG P229 pistol. That round, it's kind of like shooting 357 Magnum. It's what it really is a 40 caliber case next down to a 9mm, close to a 9mm bullet. Because of that, it's going very fast. These rounds go anywhere from 13 to 16, 1,700 rounds rounds, feet per second. That is a very, very fast laser flat shooting cartridge. It is a very nice round.
But that's the guy, what's his name? Jack in Texas.
Jack Thompson?
Was that it? Jack?
Oh, Wilson.
Jack Wilson in Texas.
Wilson. Oh, okay, that's right.
Wasn't that the caliber he used?
I'm not sure.
I think
sure.
Somebody, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure that was the caliber he used. And I saw a lot of comments of people going, I haven't even, heard of that. And I was wondering if there was any kind of spike in popularity. Did people run out and get that because of that? I don't know.
There's been a very small spike. We actually had some .357 SIG caliber Glocks for a time. They sold out pretty quickly. But yeah, not a huge uptick. The round is it's definitely a more expensive round. It's a special round. That and 10 millimeter. I'm a big fan of 10 millimeter. That's a fun round.
Why is it a fun round?
Yeah. Well, 10 millimeter is the FBI used it in the 70s or 80s. Remember Miami Vice?
Yep.
Remember Miami Vice, that pistol? That's a Bren 10. That's basically a 10 millimeter CZ clone. That round hits hard, hits fast. I got a nickname as a like a one-hitter quitter kind of thing. Just a real fun round. It's just a 40 caliber. 40 caliber actually came from that. It's just the same exact round, just with a little bit of the case cut down. But that's a 10 millimeters. Yeah, both those oddball rounds, they're both fun. Just the ammo tends to be more expensive, and because they're not terribly popular, you tend to not find the rounds. You tend to have a hard time finding them in stores.
So SIG's obviously has a 357 SIG. They're P2?
The 229.
P229.
Right.
And then Glock. What's Glock's 357 SIG?
It's called a Glock 31, and the compact is a 32.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, those are models you don't usually hear about. Everybody hears about the 17, the 19, 26, especially the 19. But those ones, just not many people have them.
Yeah.
But they're good guns. They're great guns. You can even get conversion barrels. If you have a 357 SIG caliber Glock, you can actually get a conversion barrel to make it shoot 40 or 9 millimeter. And in that sense, you effectively have 2 guns or even 3 guns with one pistol. And I always thought that was a really neat feature.
Jason, were you saying the 357 SIG is a more flatter shooting or a flatter trajectory round?
It is. It's like shooting a laser out to maybe 80 or 100 yards. It's a very flat shooting round because of it's a very high pressure round, so it tends to fly straighter. If you've ever stood up to the side, watched somebody shoot, say a 45, you can actually see the bullet move. It's actually a very slow round, fun to shoot, but it's a real slow round. It's got definite arc to it. 357 SIG is the opposite of that. It just shoots straight flat, just about.
Okay, is the 10 millimeter similar to that too, or no?
Not as flat shooting, but it's pretty similar.
Interesting.
The story I heard was after the Miami shootout in the 80s. That's when they developed. They looked at a 10 millimeter and they said, you know what? We're FBI agents. We're all attorneys and CPAs, really, and our hands are soft. So that's a little too much kick. And so that's when they came up with the 40. Is that accurate? Is that what have you heard that progression as well?
Somewhat. There's a lot of theories. I'm sure it's a whole multitude of things. I'm sure it's a multifaceted sort of thing going on there. But I'm very sure that's probably one of the major reasons why they cut down the 10 millimeter, and they market it as. And they came out in 1990, 40 caliber Smith & Wesson. That's what it is. It does still kicks, still snappier a little bit. 10 millimeter is definitely it's basically like a Magnum round. It does kick quite a bit, so people do get worn out. It's almost like shooting. It's kind of like shooting 357 with a little more bang. 40 cal is still snappy, definitely snappier than 9. 40 actually kicks a tiny bit more than 45 because it's a higher pressure round, even though it's a smaller bullet than a 45. But because of that, modern times you definitely don't hear about as many people shooting 40, just because the 9 millimeter round has progressed. It's just constantly being improved. The technology for 9 millimeter is such that there are 9 millimeter rounds now that they perform like a 357 Magnum almost.
Jeez. All right, buddy. Hey, well, it's always good talking to you. I know you're busy, so we'll let you get back at it. You'll be there till 10 o'clock. There'll be a little bit of a line, folks. But don't worry. Once you get in there, you'll have all the fun you can imagine at the Gun Range San Diego at 7853 Balboa Avenue. All right, Jason, take care, be safe, and we'll talk to you next week.
You too, Dave.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break, but don't forget, don't leave. There's another hour coming, and it's got more than the first hour on FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
This program is sponsored by Dave Stahl.